Hi, I'm Sean Canning, Principal Architect at 1070 Architecture, and you're watching our Design Rewind video series. This is a video series where I turn back the clock on my architecture career and talk to you about my first projects as a licensed architect in the county of San Diego. As usual, we're going to cover 3 parts to this video. First, I'm going to review the client brief. Then I'm going to do an in-depth breakdown of the design and why it ended up looking the way it did. And finally, I'm going to conclude with an explanation of what happened with the project and what happened with the client. And today, we're going to be reviewing the Camino Acampo residence. So this was a project which was brought to me by a contractor who I'd worked with on almost a half dozen projects in the past. Great contractor, great superintendents. The guys really know what they're doing for this particular company. The client was a real estate agent who specialized in this area in particular. And I think she kind of looked at herself as a little bit of a designer. But the one thing I should mention is there was an additional designer on this project who made things a little bit confusing. And this was a designer who was hired by the general contractor. And I think his role was supposed to be interior design, but his work ended up kind of bleeding into my work quite a bit. And that made things a little bit difficult. So the project scope of work on this one was an exterior improvement, including modern front door. That was very important to the client to have a modern front door. Various trellis designs and partial interior remodel. And it was a single family zone. And the project challenges were modernizing a Spanish style. So the client wanted a hybrid style right from the jump. But that can always be challenging. How you do that, there's a bunch of different ways you can do that, but it can be very difficult to accomplish. And then there were certainly some structural challenges because the open floor plan that the client wanted really just occurred at an area where there was a lot of load-bearing walls. And to do it the way she wanted it was going to be a little bit of a structural feat. But that was something I was able to handle at this point in my career. So here are some, these are SketchUp images. So this is me trying to work out the design in SketchUp, showing different materials, and I'm even probably at this point showing that modern door, although it did end up looking quite different by the end of the project. So here's some more SketchUp renderings, and now we have an option over here for that front door. Here's a proposed trellis, and here's another proposed trellis. We did like 2 or 3 trellises on this design. There's a front door. It ended up looking a little bit differently than this. Here's that other trellis. So these, I believe these were my design development drawings, if I remember correctly. Those would be the drawings that you would present to the client to get their opinion, understand what they like and what they don't like, and then make adjustments before you send it off to engineering. And let's see here. So this is a 2015 project, so basically 8 years ago. And you can see it was kind of like a hodgepodge of like a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and there was some interior work that went on, but it wasn't the full scope. At this point, I really wasn't getting projects that were like an entire home at one time. Sometimes I would get smaller projects, or sometimes I would get projects that were like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, piece here, piece there. Here's some trellis elevations, and here's the front door elevation, and this is ultimately what ended up being the finished version of that front door. And there it is in a finished photo. So what you're seeing is a steel door, an oversized door. It's not really proportionally correct on that facade because this dimension is probably a little bit too little. But the client was really into this like blending of 2 different styles. And I remember that's why we went with all these black windows here. Those are all new windows. She really liked that blending of the contemporary or modern and Spanish style. So we ended up replacing basically all these windows, and that's a custom metal door. This was the inside of the home, so you can see where you would enter at the front door over here. And these stairs were all existing. We opened, I believe this was